Welcome back to Avient Specialty Inc.'s presentation of Aquarius Discharge Part 2. In the first episode, we covered pre-press, such as art prep, separations, screen coating, exposure, and then prepping the screen for production, such as taping and blocking out images. So now we're ready for production. Earlier I showed you how to use the 3-point contact to line up your screen in the DS to ensure that the registration system on press will work correctly. With discharge and most water-based systems, it's a great advantage to have a pre-registration system so you can have minimal adjustments after you start running. It's not to say that you can't line this up traditionally, it's just that when you do, you'll have to clean out the image area to look through the screen to line it up manually. As I said earlier, in part 1, we are using 160 meshes on this vector print. We're using 60-90-60 squeegees, and we preset our machine at about 45 pounds of pressure for each color. To make the colors, we use the IMS software for Aquarius Discharge base. Here I am weighing out an empty bucket to tear out my scale to know exactly how much ink I made. I take that total and I multiply it by 0.06 to get my weight for the activator. Once I know that weight, I tear out my scale again and I start adding the ZFS activator. As you can see, it's a nice powder. It's more of a granule powder, so I try to get exact as possible on the 6%. And I want to note here that we put 6% in all of our colors. We don't cut anything back for reds. Our red is a nice strong pigment, so it can actually hold the entire 6%. To stir in all of the ZFS, I do a slight folding action to keep from making my powder fly out or lose some of it. And then I do a pretty vigorous stir. It's not super. And I just want to make sure that all of the ZFS is enveloped into the ink. Once I do that, I write down the time in which I mixed it, because I want to make sure that the ink sits 15 minutes without anyone touching it, so that when I'm ready for production, I can pull it out, know that it's been sitting 15 minutes. During that 15 minutes is a good time to double check your settings, your rotation, and the whole bit. So here I am stirring the ink after 15 minutes. I do a more vigorous job and make sure that the granules are 100% gone. If you don't do this, if you do go straight to the screen after activation, you're taking a chance of the granules cutting into your screen and messing it up. A lot of times we get calls on this, and 9 times out of 10 is exactly what the printer has done. He did not wait to get the granules to totally dissolve into the ink itself. So here I am, I'm going dark to light on this print. So how we like to do the rotation. So it's the purple, blue, and then finally the red. And as you can see, as I pour it in, I'm totally avoiding the image area so it can sit there a while we're getting ready. This is also a good time to get your shirts ready to go, so when you strike off and it looks good, you can get right into printing. We go ahead and flood up on the inks and keep it flood up during the run. So here we're printing with one stroke, one flood, one stroke, with 45 pounds of pressure, and then adjust as you need. Here I like to print on a white shirt first to double check our registration. Much easier to see on a white shirt, obviously. It's just a great tip. And then you also check in to make sure the ink is clearing the screen with one stroke. You can adjust from there angles of your squeegees, or actually increasing or decreasing your pressure. So here we are lined up. Everything looks good. And then of course you have to tape out the registration marks. That's pretty simple. Something that small will hold well. Sometimes when we're running a soft base, I like to run a piece of tape down the edge in case it runs out from underneath the tape. So here you are, going ahead and showing you the print as it looks on a black garment. So you see the difference between the white garment and the black garment. Obviously there's not a lot of opacity with discharge inks. Everything is done in the oven. So here we are, starting production. We're loading them up just like you would any other screen print job. No difference. Just a note here, if you do see a little bit of a difficulty passing through the screen, you can use our softener additive to kind of help it come through. But in most cases, we usually don't need additives for the discharge base. And just to recap the setup, we use 160 meshes on all screens in a vector print. We go dark to light on the rotation. We use approximately 45 pounds of pressure. And we do not flash. We never flash our discharge ink. For cure settings, we like to hit around 325 Fahrenheit in the oven for 90 seconds. Here's an example of a non-cured and then a cured discharge print. That's what discharge does. The IMS3 mixing software offers excellent formulas for Pantone matches on press. It is highly recommended that you double check the fabric you're using, make sure it's 100% cotton, and make sure it's dischargeable dyes. It is best to check with the shirt manufacturer for the styles that they deem discharge printable. Once in production, as long as the ink is flooding over the image area and printing nicely, you will not dry out. Other than that, the settings and adjustments on press are very common amongst all screen printing inks. Here I've created an off contact in the front to make sure they have a nice peel. The end results are very correct and bright colors with a very soft and subtle feel. It actually feels like a continuation of the fabric itself. And unlike other discharge inks out there, ours doesn't have a foul smell. It's very pleasant to run with. Easy to run with one stroke and no flashing. For cleanup, we like to use a good bucket of water, a little squirt of dish detergent, and mix it up, and you're good to go on press as a press wash. We use this mix to wash out image areas from the bottom of the screen. We never go inside the screen. Simply get a very wet rag and allow the water to come up through the image area itself. This is great during manual setup, and also if you were going to leave for an hour or two for lunch, you clean out the screens like this, and you're able to leave it. Come right back and start printing again. Simply friction dry the image with a dry rag afterwards. On this particular day, it was cool but very low humidity, and we did not need any additives. Here's another word of caution. These two shirts were cured at different times. The one on the left at the fewer 90 seconds, the one on the right at 45 seconds. They look great coming out of the oven. But as you can see here, the 45-second sample failed where the 90-second sample held up to the wash. To clean and even store your screens, just cart out the ink and take it to your washout booth and simply use water to knock out all the residual ink on the screen and in the image area. Thank you for your time, and I hope this helps you understand discharge printing a little bit better. If you have any questions, simply email askspecialtyinks@avient.com and we'll be happy to help you. Thank you.